All right, welcome to Pass the Mic. It is Friday, August 14th, 2026, episode 216. Mike Gervasi, how are you?
Make it August. How you doing? School's right around the corner.
Good. School is right around the corner. Wrapping things up with the golf course here soon. Feedback and errors. Our marathon episode last week with the Ren Dog, setting a new record for the Pass the Mic podcast. So, first of all, caught people right off guard with his introduction of the show. Coach Tony, who we still get his shirt to, says that we should hire Rennie. I honestly agree. He would be like a great executive producer, like that guy that would be there in the background and make sure the show's going and we don't mess stuff up.
Yeah,
and could give his occasional input here and there. So if we do hit it big, and I'll let you get. I don't want to steal your thunder. What are you going to say? Go ahead.
Well, yeah, it's funny you say that because Antoine sent a text and was even wondering, musing out loud, was I even a part of the show? Like the Ren Dog was that good, he took over.
I think Max mentioned that too, but I think like if we hit it big, and I saw a thing yesterday, it was like on an Instagram line of stories of like the top podcast earners, and of course our buddy Joe Rogan, we're just behind him. I think he's like 80 million for last year is what I think he was.
Yes.
But like if we can get that and we get that payroll going, I think, like I said, obviously Tom Pack has to be on that payroll, with his weekly submissions. Coach Torres, who did a great job with our, artwork. But the Ren Dog, I think, like, would be in the studio.
Yeah, for sure. Now, would Rocky make anything off of this? Or?
A consultant? Would he be a consultant? Of some sort.
We'll give him a couple 100,000 of that 79 million.
Max gave a ton of feedback. He was texting right away. I surprised Max with the story of Cousin John being on The Price is Right. That surprised me, surprised him, and of course brought in Elisa's first input to the show ever. It took 215 episodes, I believe, for her to give some input about the Dots pretzels, which I sent you guys in our private text. Soon after his appearance came on TV, he changed his profile picture to some bags of Dot pretzels. Totally mispriced them. I think something like he had them estimated like $13. I know they're a little pricier. They're a little pricier than normal pretzels.
Yeah, not much.
But
right.
We're not talking, Grey Poupon mustard. But so that costs John of being there. So.
Yeah. Okay. So I took a little heat for not having Nas in my top four, and that was again. I got to shout out. I know listener Travis is going to be upset by this. Shout out to Chris Pato. He brought me back to Nas later in life here, and I do think he's outstanding. But it was I for whatever reason, in my rap days, I did not like him, so I took a little bit for that. Although Antoine did say, but I did fight for my boy Ice Cube. I like thinking back on Ice Cube again, like I mentioned last week, pre-Lethal Injection, his albums were outstanding. Max is reading a book and one about an usher at a stadium, in a minor league stadium. So I wanted to make sure that he agrees with me on my Fear Factor take. Again, Joe Rogan, kind of coming up there. Paul Skeens, he mentions him as struggling. Also
struggled the other night.
Yeah, after Max, Texas. His Mount Rushmore would be a Tribe Called Quest, a very, very good rap group. Are you familiar with them at all?
I've heard the name. That's all I know.
No song like Q-Tip and Phife Dawg?
Nope.
Okay. All right. A little surprised by that, but I probably shouldn't be, right? And a really, really, really nice text. I gotta read this one from Ken. First off, Ken was touched by the shout out from Rennie, especially at the very end. It made him laugh.
Yes.
I can tell he went to Carlson. These are Ken's words. 4 of my grandkids went to Carlson. The dedication that your teachers and staff have is beyond recognition. Everyone I've met through you, meaning me, at Carlson really shows why your school is so good. I like Mike P's thing on when your team is bad, it's cool to get better seats, so I agree with you on that. He used to get off work in the 70s and go down to Olympia Stadium to watch the Red Wings and get front row seats because the Wings were so bad. He mentioned Scooble in the trade, kind of a bummer, but, it kind of had to happen. Same with Mize. Those are some things that we touched upon in the last episode, so that's all I got.
Yeah, well, great feedback. Ken always has great feedback. He's getting right up there with the ironically with the Ren Dog.
He is, and actually,
So
he had one hot mic topic, which was it really took off like wildfire. We did that one. I'm using him again this week, so another preview of things to come.
all right, excellent. All right, time for my Mike of the week, and it's fitting because tonight this Mike coaches his first NFL game against his old NFL team. I'm going with Mike McCarthy, Pittsburgh Steelers head coach, born November 10th, 1963. He's 6 years old, born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He went to Homestead High School. Ironically, and I guess there's a lot of this going on. Aaron Rodgers they're playing the Packers in Pittsburgh. Not that these preseason games mean anything,
right.
But a lot of people are saying why the NFL didn't just put this game in Green Bay. Because a preseason game, you could flip people's game, okay, sure. Green Bay, we're giving you this one as a home. Pittsburgh, it's not the regular season where you say these are lined Correct. Up in these slots. And for a preseason game, and I think even Aaron Rodgers, who's going here to go back to being a little goofier, fell back into that.
You think?
He said that, and I think that it would have been just a pretty cool story. You know what I mean? Yes, it's in Pittsburgh, but it doesn't really matter there. But Mike McCarthy, ironically, his Super Bowl championship is against the Steelers, that he was victorious. Started his coaching careers as a grad assistant at Fort Hays State. Do you know where that is?
I do not.
I don't either. I'll click the link in Wikipedia. It is in Fort Hays State Tiger football. Fort Hays State football.
Kansas.
Oh, it's in Hays, Kansas. Kansas. So shout out as a grad assistant there to Mike McCarthy. And of course, that's what we got here. So Mike McCarthy, good luck. They're playing tonight. We're recording this on the 13th as the episode comes out on the 14th. So
Fort Hays State, this is the first time it will be mentioned on this show and most likely the last. Right,
but likely I'm not going to be watching what's going on there. So, or attending their grad programs.
Sure.
So, all right. Education topic this week. Goals for the upcoming school year. We do this every year in August. I believe you're on the opposite year of me as an evaluation, right? So you are evaluated this coming school year, 26, 27?
Last year. I'm not being evaluated.
Oh, we're the same. Okay. I always mix that up. So officially we're off the clock as far as being evaluated. But that doesn't mean we still don't have some goals. So do you want to kick things off with what you have as goals for this coming school year?
Yeah, I have two. How many do you have? Just curious. Okay. Do you want to bounce back and forth?
I have two as well. So yeah, go ahead. We'll go back.
All right, so we'll go back and forth. Okay, the first is more personal in nature. Just to let the listener know, come May, and I don't think I'm giving any earth-shattering news here, but that burnout happens, and I personally feel like, especially as a person that is forward thinking in terms of like education, maybe it's time we shift the model in our society, but I'm ready, man. And it's not something I'm proud of, but I think just the overwhelming amount of workload, especially for me personally, November to March is really a lot. And so my goal is to run the marathon this year. And instead of burning out prior to that, I want to make it through, and I want to, like, in June, feel really good, not because the year is ending, but just have that, that tank still half full and be more than willing to go longer if I had to. So that's my first goal on a personal level.
All right. Excellent. For me, so the state of Michigan has something called SL21. It's a benchmark and standards for school libraries. We were exemplary. I have to renew that every 2 years. Ours is up. Mine expires this coming February. So the renewal process takes place this school year. And they are updating the benchmarks. They sent something out that I have to get that taken care of. And I am going to take a look at those, at the new benchmarks. I hope to hold us as exemplary. I believe that our standards are of that. So that is my number one goal for this year, is to, again, maintain the Carlson High School Library as an exemplary status and renew and again, you can Google that and look that up. It's a pretty rigorous, I know some people are going to laugh and joke about these things, but the standards to hit exemplary are pretty rigorous. And I'm looking forward to, and it's nice because it's a way to check up to make sure that we're keeping up and doing the things that we need to be doing. So,
sure. Okay. My second is regarding my classroom. So 2 years, I've taught AP Gov now for, this is going to be my third year. 2 years ago, I really felt like I had a group that was very participatory. The conversations were outstanding. I kind of, the election of 2024 had happened or was happening during the class, and you know, current events sort of lent themselves to awesome, outstanding classroom dialogue. Last year, I had more students, and surprisingly, less than. And so, I don't know if the mindset is, as teachers, I think we tend to sort of think that every year and every class is going to be kind of the same, even though we know otherwise. It's kind of almost like thinking one sibling is going to be the same as another just because they're siblings, and it's just not the case. And so last year I had much less dialogue. A few students would contribute, but there was a lot less. My goal personally, and for a few reasons, but is to help students become better at this in these specific classes. And the reason, on a personal level, I just find, we're not going to find common ground, or we're not going to see eye to eye with everybody all the time. That's the nature of our politics and discourse. But on text message, we, one specific text thread I'm on, we really get kind of nasty with each other. And then when we're in person, it's a lot different, and it's a lot more cordial, and it's not because we're keyboard warriors or anything like that. I just think when you see somebody, you have much more in common. You can understand their viewpoint better for a variety of reasons. So just within the classroom, I want to create better dialogue with the 80 some odd students I have this year, so that they go out in the world and I think are better at it as well. So that's my second goal.
Excellent. I like that. That's a good one there. I want to open up some more reading opportunities. Trying to open things up to get more chances for kids to read things that aren't necessarily part of their classroom situation, and whether that be after school activities, promotional activities, that sort of thing. I'm seeing more and more. I'm seeing more and more of the studies that um, the most prepared students, the most prepared groups going forward are going to be those that are literate, and taking in information. And I think that's going to be very important. So I do my best every year but I want to increase the numbers of getting kids, of saying what they want, what they need, what types of materials they want to read, and that sort of thing. So that's definitely something that I am going to be doing this coming school year. So,
Okay. Yeah, that's one thing. I mean,
all right.
again, according to Elon Musk, we're not going to need to work anymore, but we're still going to need critical thinkers. And I agree with you. Reading is fundamental to that. So,
Speaking of that, did you see that? I shared it on my Instagram story the other day. Did you see what Barack Obama is doing a podcast on
yeah,
Audible? It's specific to Audible, all about the books that have influenced him. Now we have more competition, by the way. That's probably going to bump us to number 3, I imagine, behind Joe Rogan once Obama gets on there. May cut into our earnings a little bit, but I might have to check that one out. That looks pretty interesting.
since you're mentioning that in podcast, I gotta mention something that Ken just, I didn't even think about this till just now. So Ken has, much like what happened with us last year, when we went to Grozil and met those wonderful folks, and discussed podcasts and stuff like that. Ken now is a podcast listener because of us, and one of the ones he mentioned was a podcast with Jason Benetti and Dan Dickerson, and two very, very, the Tigers announcers, for those of you who don't know. But he's like, and I think it's probably because this is more personal to him, obviously, me being his stepson, but he said we're better, like our podcast is better. So I thought that was kind of cool. And Benetti and Dan Dickerson are two very talented guys, but he kind of said that the way our personalities sort of mix with each other on the show, it makes it much better. Those guys haven't been doing it as long either, I don't think, because Benetti's only been the Tiger announcer. I think this is his 3rd season. But yeah, so I don't know if people want to check that out, maybe give their own rankings between us and them. But that was kind of cool to hear that. So shout out to us.
Yeah, it is. I mean, like I said, we don't like pat ourselves on the back too much, because the Allen Park duo will quickly pull the rug out from under us. But we try to we try to do our best. So
yeah.
All right, overrated, underrated this week. It's actually a little late. Back to school shopping, a lot of this stuff. Did you use your Target 20% off?
I did not.
It's still good. It's still good.
Oh, is it?
That's
okay.
on anything. Yeah, so like it's on a whole purchase. I used it. I even bought a new little microphone for my TikToks, but it's a great deal. But school supplies, what do you got as your overrated?
I didn't know you did TikToks. When did this start? Um, so I have two as well. Do you? How are you doing this? Do you have
I got
two?
two. I got two for
All right.
both.
All right, let's go back and forth then on this. So overrated. I'm going to start with mechanical pencils. I do understand some people like using them. Personally, I don't. I've found them to be very annoying because of the way the lead constantly breaks. I think in that realm they're overrated anyway. And then the other part, from a teaching standpoint, I can't tell you how often during the school year a kid's, I ran out of lead. Can you give me a pencil? So to me, my number one is mechanical pencils.
All right, my overrated. This is going to clash. Are
Oh,
standard number two pencils. I'm a mechanical pencil kind of
oh
guy,
are you really?
and I feel as if like it's always like, oh, we got to have this, and I feel like you don't really need it. Like I gave the AP test for years, you know what I mean. So whereas I'm not saying that the standard is necessarily better, and I agree with your points, but to me it's like whatever works. Mechanical, golf pencil, whatever, it'll all work. So this idea that the standard number two is overrated, again, doesn't mean bad.
You've lost touch with the classroom. Okay.
By the way, I in the library there are numerous pencils that are available for kids to grab out of that supply drawer anytime they want. I think they're standard number. There's number two, I'm pretty sure.
Oh
So
yeah, and I got to
this is
commend you.
also going to be another.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
This is going to be another first for the Past the Mic podcast. My dog is going crazy, and I have to go take her out, or there may be an accident. So I'm going to have to, for the first time in history, we're going to have to stop mid-recording. Are you okay with
Okay,
this?
it's fine.
I'll be right back. All right, back to part two of episode 216. Ella has gone out. I think she's just needy because I took her for a walk this morning, and Elisa was on the phone, and she feels like neglected if everyone's ignoring her.
So you said that this is a first for Pass the Mic podcast. You had to go let the dog out. I think, and I don't remember the minute mark of this. It'll also be the first time I just got stung by a bee about less than a week ago, and my leg is like super itchy and stuff like that. There was a bee right in my face here, and I like it startled me. I think I'm sort of on edge here,
Oh, we
and
could have had a first in the recording, like a
right.
wildlife attack.
Sure. So
All right,
yeah,
so we were in the midst of our overrated, underrated school supplies. We said we had two for each. So what's your
yeah.
second overrated school supply?
Okay, my second one is actually a benefit to me, but and as I want to make this clear, I believe students should write more than type. So I cannot stress that enough. But the notebooks, and I'm going to say overdoing it on notebooks, and here's why. What I've discovered with students is at the end of the year, inevitably, there are notebooks left behind. Always, whether it's kids throwing them in the recycle, and I'll go
Oh
in the
yeah.
recycle and look, or if it's kids just leaving them on their desks, and I go in the notebooks, and Mike, I have about 20 of them where no joke when these at the end of the year these kids buy these 240-page notebooks and they've used 10 of them, and I just give them back to kids the following year, whether it's that specific kid. Well, I'll say, hey, you left this, or if I just rip the pages out and a kid that needs something to write on, I give them the notebook. So I think they're buying these things, they when they go to the store before the year and they buy things, I think they're really ambitious and I'm going to make this a great year. And I think this is something that they kind of overdo. So again, it's a benefit to me, but I do think it's overrated, the amount of notebook paper that kids use or buy. But again, it helps me out.
Yeah, I truly don't think they need one for like each section and each
Correct.
class either. So.
Yeah.
All right, here's my other overrated item. And again, not necessarily means it. I just feel like it's something that's always on a list, and to me, they never last. They really don't do their job very well. It's glue sticks.
Okay.
Like I feel as if, like you buy them, you use them a couple times, you lose the cap. To me, it never really worked as well as regular glue anyway. Like I always felt as if it was, a scam to begin with. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So again, glue sticks overrated, and it's like one of those things that it's one of the few things I don't have up in the library. I just don't. Because like I have those supply carts here, right? And I get a couple at the start of the year, but then by like December, they're dried out or gross or not. And a kid it never fails. A kid will come ask for one. And it's like one of the few things I don't have. And I'll be like, here's the Scotch tape.
I do need it from time to time. So I'm kind of in the middle on this. So I was going to make a joke again about you losing touch with the classroom. It's about once or twice a year. And you know what it seems to come up the most is when the kids are doing the Christmas door decorating, for Christmas break,
Yes.
and they're putting that seems to be the time that they're needed. But in general, I do agree with you.
You know what I found to be a great, and I bought a roll of for just to have in the library is painter's tape,
Okay.
because it does its job and it doesn't damage stuff either. You know what I mean? Like as you're
Yeah.
taking it off, and for the most part, that's what I buy and use for most of my stuff. Because when you think about most of the stuff that we need to adhere for like projects and stuff like that, I get it, it's bright blue, but like if you're hanging signs or whatever, painter's tape works great.
Always. Yeah. I mean, it's certainly durable enough for anything
Yeah.
going on in the schools. So yeah.
All right, it's time for the good stuff. Underrated. What do you have?
All right, my first one, man, I cannot tell you how often kids come to me during the year. It's no less than 20 times, and that's not an exaggeration. 3x5 cards for a variety of
Oh yeah, good
reasons,
one.
whether it's, to study for a test or just speech, whatever. They always need 3x5 cards, so that's my number one overrated.
And that never appears like on a supply list, or it's
It
like something
doesn't.
you rarely see of it and you think of back to school. That's a really good one, man. You hit that one out of the park. Mine's going to be like a standard. To me, it has a variety of roles and does a good job. It's the standard Sharpie that we're all familiar with, the black Sharpie, not extra fine but fine tip, the standard one that you normally
Yeah.
get. It can be used for both making like a door sign, but it's also, I mean, I use it for just generally writing and labeling stuff. It's that point is the perfect point. I know they do a whole box in colors of them, but you can't go wrong with the OG original standard black Sharpie, not the big thickest one, not the little super fine, but that standard fine point Sharpie. Again, I use it for like both, labeling stuff, but also like, when you're just jotting some notes down or stuff, it's perfect and great. So that's mine.
Mike, it's interesting you bring that up. I'm going to agree with you. And it's one thing that it's so underrated. I never buy them, and I get asked that all the time during the school year for a myriad of projects. Do you have a Sharpie? And I never
Yep.
have that. So that's a really, really good one.
I think we're doing all right with our underrated.
Yeah.
What's your other underrated?
So I want to go back, and I'm going to again, I'm trying to go over this from the perspective of what teachers think and see. When I started, I remember a teacher I really respect telling me he gives extra credit for Kleenex. And I thought this was the most absurd notion because it's Kleenex and extra credit. And for the listener, just in general, teachers don't give extra credit like willy nilly, and it doesn't turn a C into an A or anything like that. It really becomes
Yeah.
something that if you have a 92.4, this could be the point one that bumps you up to the A or something like that. But he told me that you will never have enough Kleenex, and it helps progress a class so well when you have it. And I've discovered it to be so true. Kleenex is so vital to a classroom. You never have enough. And, I buy my own all the time during the school year, even though we get certain supplies, I never have enough. And so I buy it during the school year. I usually run out of what was given to me by November, even, and there's a ton in my closet if you see it. So I'm going Kleenex far and away. It's vital to a classroom.
Yeah, excellent. Good call. And I always try to have some out on my desk. And like when you guys come in, it does go quickly. My underrated, and this is going to tie in sort of with yours, but it's different. So the composition books, which are, again, just sort of like one single subject, they're not meant to be ripped out of. They're dirt cheap this time of year. They always do them like Walmart, right? Or Target. You can get them for like 19 cents or whatever. I'm pretty sure 50 cents or something ridiculous. To me, those are, more valuable if they're used for what they're used for. They're not designed for turning assignments out of. Because if you ever look at them, they're not meant to be ripped out of. But it's a great place for note taking, record keeping, or whatever. They're cheap. They're easy. They're still mainly wide ruled. So for people like me that have awful handwriting, because everything as you get more academic and older is narrow ruled, right? It's wide ruled, so it's a great place for note keeping. It's especially if there's stuff you want to keep, records, outlines or notes for what you're doing for a class, or notes for how putting on an event. And again, for some reason, they always are this dirt cheap item at back to school time. I don't know. the marketing genius of this, like you get them at back to school time for like what, like a quarter or something. They always have these deals, and then when you go like in February, they're like $3.99 or something
Yeah.
ridiculous. So
Yeah.
buy them early. It's like I said, it's a great way for just not it's it's obviously not a fancy journal, but it's a cheap way to just keep information down. So again, not that I totally agree with your Overrated on all the different notebooks that's a totally different thing in my book
Yeah.
than a comp book.
Yeah, and Mike, you're saying that spoken like a true English teacher too. I mean, that's something that wouldn't have crossed my mind, but you're right, very, very important.
Yeah, that also tries to save money. So buy them now before they go back to their street prices, I guess. So
yeah.
All right, we'd love to hear what people's thoughts are. I'm glad. Remember the days of elementary when you get the list and you have to go get like all the certain things and stuff like that. It was it's crazy now too. Like the displays are out by, it's like July 4th happens, then the July 4th displays go away, and then it's back to school.
Back to school, yeah.
But I'm seeing already back to, you mentioned TikTok. We're so late. There's people that are like, I'm seeing people's first day of school, teachers, TikToks and stuff. Other places are already starting this last week, which is, we're like a whole month almost to go.
Yep. But we will be in school a little bit later this year too. So
June 17th, I was working at the golf course yesterday, and I was talking to one of our younger girls. She's working the food stand. She goes to Grand Valley, and I was asking about when her classes start, when she moves, and that came up about me, and I'm like, well, I don't start till this, but we go till June 17th. And she was like shocked.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a college student? They're done in late April, right?
Yeah.
Usually. And she's like, June 17th is your last day.
Spring classes might be over by, the spring, summer.
The first spring semester might be done at Eastern by that point, or she goes to Grand Valley, actually. So I don't know what they're. All right. Hot mic take. What do you got this week?
Okay. So Ken and my mom took Kristen and me out to eat the other day. We went to Ford's Garage in Dearborn. I'd heard it was overrated. I was very impressed. I liked what I had. Nevertheless, Ken is just he's so into the show.
Hold on. I don't mean to interrupt this. This is like my trips to Chicago. You went to Dearborn. You're safe?
Yes. Oh man.
You're okay? You haven't. I just want proof of life. We're okay. I've seen a lot of stuff on the national news. I've seen people wanting to come up, bikers wanting to come to Dearborn. You're okay.
I think there's something actually planned, a rally of some sort here in the next week. Yeah, Mike.
I was just there a week ago today, Thursday. I had to go to the Oakwood Medical Center. I'm not going to violate my HIPAA. I made it out all right. I'm just I've seen a lot of national news. You're okay. Okay, good. So like I've survived Chicago. You've survived Dearborn. We're good to go.
This is astounding where we're at as a country, isn't it? Oh my God, yeah. I've been at Dearborn a lot lately. Natalia's going to Henry Ford. We've gone on campus a few times.
Well, be careful. You're living on the edge, my friend.
I know. That's what I've heard. So I didn't know where you were going. I thought Ella had to go out again, and we were having another one of those incidents. Anyway, so where was I going with? Oh, so Ken asked the question. He really loves the podcast, and he asked the question, what has anything ever gone wrong on the podcast? And I want
Ella wanting to go out.
Ella wanted. Yeah, you're right. I mean, we have one today. There's a case in point. Didn't even think about that. But I had 4 things that I kind of, and I don't even know if these are wrong, but it's sort of like hitches in the system. And I'm going to go kind of in order for what I believe is least to greatest, so to speak. And I don't even know if that'd be the right way of putting it, but things that just certainly weren't planned. Number one, how difficult it is to book guests, even guests that are willing. We've reached out to a local politician, Darren Camilleri, who's been on before, and he has seen me a couple times, said, I want to be on again, but he's so busy. There was a couple people that we worked with a few years ago who retired, who said they would like to be on, but then, we reached out. It was just sort of, I don't know if they wanted to. So booking guests is a lot more difficult, getting their timelines to work with ours. So that's kind of number one. This summer, we decided at the 11th hour, truly 11th hour, to bring Max on. Yes, I don't want to say I was wrong, but that was really just a spontaneous, hey, Mike, what do you think about this? Let's do it. Let's see if he wants to do this, because he's got camp going on. So we did that. 2 incidents that really stick out, and then the third that kind of I lumped them all together. Again, these weren't wrong, just certainly unexpected, and I didn't know how to respond. The first was when we had Rob Raymond on not long after his mother had passed, and it really touched a nerve, and not in a negative way, with a few listeners who had dealt with similar things recently. Danielle Obeck, is it Obeck or Albeck? The
Yep.
author
Yep.
who came on, and I really wasn't expecting when she, broke down crying and said this is like the moment of her life. And then the
Yep.
episode with, and again, I'm lumping these all together not long after your dad had passed.
Yeah.
And that those were very, very tough moments that you just can't plan for. And as a human being, you just adjust because those are life's moments. So that was kind of my all 432. Now my number one is really not wrong, but I think I'm gonna be honest. I think I kind of messed it up, and that's and anybody that knows him knows this. So we had Kimani on about a month and a half, 2 months ago, and he was the gentleman who had moved from Gary, Indiana, to Taylor Kennedy his senior year. And we told him, and I may have texted him this before, but we told him right before the show, hey, this is family friendly. We got to filter this.
Yeah.
Um, and again, anybody that knows him knows he was a lot more filtered than he normally would be. And I think the episode was fine. Nobody said it was bad or anything like that. But anybody that knows him knows he has a lot more to offer. I think me telling him that probably multiple times, I think it took from the show. Not that he'd have been dropping F bombs, although he might have, but I think the listener would have
I don't
gotten
think it
more
was.
from
I don't
him.
think it was that. I don't think it was that overwhelming. I mean, maybe more than once, but I don't think it was like this thing was like every 2 minutes, or we were stopping, or hitting the beep or anything like
No,
that.
but he's as just as a person, he's very real and very raw, and I think the
Yeah.
listener would have gotten more of that had they had we just said let's roll with it. And
Yeah.
I didn't. I don't know if maybe things would have went south, but I think it would have been outstanding to hear hit the real Kimani. You know what I mean? So that was my number one.
I think you did a great job answering Ken's questions. I think what people don't understand is we try to come out every Friday morning with an episode at 12:01. So one of the things we do is we start texting each other usually on a Monday, right,
Mm-hmm.
and being like, "Hey, sometimes we have ideas of future episodes. Sometimes things are pre-planned, but like this week on Monday, we had nothing,
Nothing.
nothing at all." And we'll text each other on Monday, and then let's just throw guests out the window. First thing we got to do is, okay, what does our schedule look like? And people are like, oh, you're off all summer. Well, like this week, Thursday morning was the only thing that worked for us, right? Like
Yeah.
it's all that worked. And I go into work today at 1:30, and I sort of said we wanted to do this early so I could get it out there. You throw a guest into the mix.
Yeah.
Now you got to get three people's schedules to line up for it to work. And that makes it even harder. And that's why guests we try to line up a couple of weeks out, like not even, that's why the Max thing's even more crazy. We've thrown together episodes in one day before, but throwing a guest in is crazy. Like Rennie, we've been lined up since mid-July,
Mm-hmm.
right? We have a guest coming up here later this month that we've had lined up since the beginning of summer. And we have another guest that we want to talk about that I'm going to send a group text probably out next week for something down the road. So it's just even picking that date when we're off in the summer is hard. Then for us, I think the toughest is when I'm coaching in the spring, when it's track and field season, because I can't do anything right after work. So basically from spring break to
No, and Mike,
June.
I mean, I'm coaching basketball from November to March, and
Yes. I mean, so
again,
so the fall, now that I don't coach cross country anymore, is a
yeah,
little easier for
it
us.
is.
It almost, when we're at work, like once school starts September through the basketball season, the start of basketball is probably our easiest time because we're in work, we use the studio, but so it's just that's a hard thing to do in general, is just the scheduling. To me,
And
that's
even oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I'm just saying that to me, has there been? I'm not trying to pat ourselves on the back. It's so ironic that Ella had to go out today.
Yeah,
That this was what you brought up.
yeah, right,
That
right.
that's, to me, that's the hardest part of the show. Even more so picking topics or getting topics. It's the scheduling.
Yeah, and even bringing a guest in, even in the studio, which to me, I like doing the studio so much more than this. Maybe it's because I don't want to see my ugly mug on YouTube or on Riverside here, but um, even bringing a guest into the school, it can be pretty easy if we let the secretaries know and stuff like that. But there's so much in and out with secretaries having to take
Yeah.
days off or stuff like that. There are a lot of things that go into this logistically that just can make things pretty difficult. But we've managed to make it work. But yeah, those four instances, man, it just were immediately what came to my mind.
Hey, speaking of Riverside, props to us using our first ever little mini clip that they sort of helped create. We did it last week with the Ren
Yeah,
Dog, talking about giving the kid the ball. This has been happening all along, and I've just been having, again, it's like a new car. You don't know all your features. And I was playing around last week and I was editing. I'm like, oh, look at this little mini clip. And I put it out on Thursday. hype the show, and I like that. I think we're gonna
Yeah.
keep doing that. This
Sure.
week it may have to be our own two ugly mugs, but all right, my hot mic take. So I want to get, again, this is sort of like a poll of the audience or your thoughts. So I am having new floors put in up here in the studio, or the whole, I guess, my house upstairs. And Nate and it's very barren up here right now. Like all the stuff, there can be nothing on the furniture. Nate's room was a mess. But I had a little mini fridge up here that years ago I won in a raffle from Dr. Tyfer's orthodontics office. They said they were going to charge me like $50. They're like, oh, that's an appliance. We don't move appliances. It was a mini fridge. So I'm like, all right. So I moved it downstairs. Yeah, which is no big deal. I don't care, whatever. It's technicalities, checklist. But so all these guys are going to be doing flooring next week. They say it might be it's probably going to be a 2-day job, Monday or Tuesday. I'm throwing like is it weird? Like I'm going to throw some waters and Gatorades in there. And do I just tell them, hey, it's down there in the kitchen, grab yourself whatever you want out of there? Do you ever do this when you have like workers at your house doing something?
Yeah.
And so that won't be weird, right? Like
not at all.
It's in a weird spot. It's over like where my kitchen table is, just because I had to move it. Maybe I should have just left it up here and said, hey, it's filled with drinks. Don't charge me the whatever, but drink whatever you want out of it.
No, I try. You know what? And over the years, I've tried to, when it's really hot. I've done this a little bit less recently, but if I'm out and workers are out, I try to offer them water anyway. In this case, you're just giving them the opportunity. Hey, whenever you feel the need, go ahead and do it. So yeah, I think it's a great idea.
All right, yeah, I like, it's funny. While the whole Ella thing was going on, the lawn service was cutting the grass too, pretty early today though, and I think that's what had her worked up too. And if I'm out sometimes, because I have some out in my fridge, I'll just walk out and give them to them in their truck.
Yeah.
Like I'll put them in there. So, but I'm just wondering with guys like in the house, I guess I'll just say like right away, like, hey, it's here if you want to do this. I'm exhausted after moving all this stuff. Even Chloe's room was moved out. So much stuff. Like if I could do things all over again, I would do a much more minimalist lifestyle.
And
Henry David Thoreau. Simplicity.
As much as I've moved in the last 7 or 8 years, you don't realize how much stuff you have until you actually move. And my last, when I was living alone, I had my kids every other week, but even just me, I didn't realize, like, I thought, man, my house is pretty bare. And then you go to move and you got so much crap, you never realize it.
Maybe that's something the younger generations will do better than our generation. I mean, the boomers were the kings of things, and Gen X sort of, and I go over to my mom's house sometimes too. And like the stuff my dad had, like, I figure like one day, and like, they do these things like estate sales now, right? Where the people come in and they price everything and whatever. Like, it's going to be a combination of that and a huge dumpster. Like that's what all this is going to be. Like like I found things I was cleaning out this closet that I have here. I have 2 super old video cameras, one analog and one digital. What do you do with those? They're not like, I don't want to throw them away. But at the same point, what do you do with it? My phone is a much better video camera. My cell phone.
So, you know what I mean? It's funny you mentioned that. I was just thinking about, you mentioned boomers. My dad, who is notorious, he keeps everything. And the notion on their end that you could sell everything and don't ever get rid of anything. And he really argued with me a couple of years ago that I could get a couple thousand for a entertainment center. And I'm like, I'm going to have to pay somebody a couple thousand to take this thing. You're out of your mind if you think anybody's going to pay for this. Nobody uses these anymore.
And it's harder and harder to get rid of stuff. Like it used to be with your local garbage, you could throw anything out there. Well, now you get 1 can a week.
Right.
So now, like when we were cleaning Nate's room, he has 2 gamer chairs, and that was because Wayfair messed up, so I only paid for one. But like one of them's in bad shape. So like as I move, I'm like, I'm just putting this in the garage, but like I can't do any. I mean, I can do one bulk pickup a week, but you got to call. But like I guess every spring in Brownstown, you can throw anything away for 2 weeks.
You got a couple of weeks there, but it always seems to be after you realize you need it. Like you missed it by a week. And
you know when it was good too, and not to make light of a tragedy. Well, it wasn't even that bad, but like when we had that tornado a few years ago, right before the first football game. They brought dumpsters at the end of the street.
Oh, man.
And you could go throw anything in there. And I regret not because they're like, oh, people's basements flooded, your house. It really wasn't that bad. But when tragedy strikes or when disaster strikes, I don't know if the federal government has a grant or there's a state grant. But I should have but like, other than that, you can't throw anything away. Like, I don't even know, like, like, furniture and that sort of thing. And it's just, we've gone all the way off from offering my workers drinks to sounding like a bunch of angry boomers. So,
yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, that's it for this week. We hope you have a great week. Back to
hold
school.
on.
Get your back to school shopping done. Oh,
Let me give a shout out. A couple things. We got the
okay.
Simpsonian on Saturday. The good
Yes.
folks, Bill Stevenson, Max Bailey, and others really put a lot of work in. And congratulations, forthcoming to Evie Crampton, who's getting married on Saturday as well. You will be spinning
Yes.
the beats. I'm sure we'll get some Ice Ice Baby and some Pitbull
Yes.
along the way.
Yes. Oh, definitely some Pitbull. I have, the paperwork's right here. Doing my prep, as we like to call it, on the paperwork, and then Nate's fall MSU bill. Good times.
Yeah.
Is Natalia all ready for her classes? Is she signed up and ready to go?
She's signed up, but whether she's ready to go or not, I guess we'll find out. So.
Wait, she's going to Dearborn, right?
She is.
Henry Ford College?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Hope everything goes all right with that.
For different reasons, I'm worried, but it has nothing to do with what the good folks on Fox News are peddling right now.
She'll do great. She'll do fine. She'll do fine. All right, everybody, have a great week, and we will see you next week.